Good afternoon, all. So, welcome to my class, Fuel Cells and Batteries. In this lecture number 2, we are going to discuss about the effect of climate change and what is the need for a clean energy. Okay, so to start with, in the previous lecture 1, we have seen what is the energy efficiency of different engines which have been used in the past, starting from steam engine or IC engines, combined engines, and in comparison to electrical car versus hydrogen car, which is going to be more efficient, all that have been discussed. And even we have seen that it was even foreseen that hydrogen is going to be the fuel of the future, and we have seen some of the advantages or easiness with which the hydrogen can be stored, all that. Okay, so in this lecture we will look into this thing, and we have seen that hydrogen can be produced in different ways. Okay, in periodic table we know what is the position of the hydrogen. In past 50 years there is no change in the position of hydrogen in the periodic table, right? But still there are a lot of things has changed with respect to other aspects which we are going to discuss this thing. They are all interesting thing, not just for examination thing. So whatever we are discussing, these are all going to affect the life of a common person, common man, because based on the petrol price and diesel price or whatever fuel price of a transport vehicles, the cost of each commodity, either it is consumables or non-consumables, or either it is vegetables or luxury items, all the prices vary based on the fuel prices which is fixed by the government. Okay, so that means that whatever we are discussing, obviously it is going to be related with our daily life, and whatever decision made by the government, either it is good or bad, we are going to critically understand it. What is the decision is good or bad, all that can be understood. Okay, even though we don't directly criticize anything, we will understand what is the data, right? As per as a technical person, we are interested in knowing the facts rather than what is the opinion, right? So we will only restrict ourselves to data and facts. So based on that you are going to infer your opinions, right? So we have seen that if we are going to use this hydrogen as the fuel, we are going to have higher efficiency. Okay, so before starting that, if we would look at the cost which has changed in the past 20 years in the generation, what is the cost of the energy which is produced through different sources is listed here. So you can see, one of you can unmute and speak. What is the price in 2009 and 2020 is listed here. The source of energy, source of electricity generation is given here. Okay, so the cost is varying from 2009 to 2020. So one of you can read out how it is changing, whether increased or decreased. So from the graph easily you can see that it is decreasing trend, some are in increasing trend, right? Yeah, one of you.
Sir, for nuclear it is increasing. Like for
Yeah, from 2009 what was the price?
it was around 12 USD.
12.3 US dollars in
Yes,
cents. Okay, so whereas now it is 16.3.
16.3.
So there is 33% increase in the cost of energy production. Usually, any technology with the time there will be decrease in cost, because we are trying to improve the efficiency. There will be decrease in the cost, right? But whereas with respect to nuclear, we have increase in cost, because lot of earlier people were not aware about the associated cost, like what is the loss it is going to generate to the environment, people living around the place, all that, right? So lot of safety protocols have been implemented. After we know what has happened in the nuclear power plants in Japan or any other places, people have understood the level. See, for in India also, before that industries, safety is not given a priority. After the Bhopal tragedy, we understood that we have to take care of all the safety protocols, right? So after the losing several lives, valuable lives of people, we tend to know what is what we have to improve, right? So there are a lot of safety things which needs to be taken care when it comes to nuclear energy. So that is maybe a reason, one of the reason I can guess, which has led to the increase in the cost of energy production for nuclear. Because you have to put, so safety means obviously you are going to increase, cost is increased, right? So earlier we didn't bother about how we safely we are going to dispose of this nuclear waste, radiative waste. Now, even now there is no solution for it. Okay, We simply say that we will put it in a concrete box and take it in a ship, in the middle of the ocean we are going to dump it. That is the policy, right? But what happens accidentally, that concrete opens, and what happens to the aquatic life? All that have been seen now. After, whenever tsunami is occurring, all this thing, we are able to identify the threat associated with it. There are several countries which have banned, they're banned in the sense they don't want to start any new nuclear power plants in the world afterwards, because in their country they understood, okay, we have seen Japan, what has happened, so we will not invest on nuclear power plant, rather I will invest in solar, rather I will invest in wind. You can see the cost involved also, right? Comparatively, solar can be generated with 3.7 US dollars in cents, in comparison to nuclear, which is 16. Why I will invest in such a high risky trade, high risky investment in this particular nuclear energy, right? So there comes the role of politicians. Okay, so because these companies, once these developed countries stopped investing or stopped banning that there will be no new nuclear power plant, whatever is in operation, that will be shut down. For example, lifetime is there 10 years. Usually what we tell, we buy a bike or car, it has a life, right? So after that you have to renew your RTO office, you have to go and renew your life of the thing, right? So how long you can prolong your existing vehicles, right? Similar to that, even for any industry there is a time is there, after which there will be no renewal of license to operate. So that is the decision taken by the developed countries. So what these nuclear, this is a very good, who are manufacturing these nuclear parts, no, they are more concerned, they will, what they will do, okay, this fellow understood the risk involved in it, so let me target developing countries like India, let me target South Africa, let me target some developing countries. So what happens in the developing countries is the education or the moral level of the politicians is not the same as that of US or well developed country. Even in developed countries such politicians exist, right? Whereas in underdeveloped country or developing countries, they can easily target a politician because they are new to power. So they will simply say that we give you 50% of our profit as the donation to your party. So what will they will do? Instead of investing in solar, they will give permission, keep giving permission, one plant, add one more plant, add one more plant. Like that, they keep giving permissions for new nuclear power plant. What happens? Manufacturer, they can keep running their manufacturing unit, which is present somewhere in US or UK or somewhere. Okay, so they keep exporting their manufactured parts into this kind of developing countries. Okay, so that needs to be, how it will be overcome when technocrats like us, when we enter into the administrative positions after clearing OPSC exams, all that, we should strongly recommend to the government, instead of investing instead of giving more permission to nuclear power plants, government should focus on investing in solar energy, wind energy, because our country, we are a peninsular country, we have a lot of seashore, we have a lot of suns is coming into our land, and wind is there, so we should more focus, which is cost of the energy is also less, right? And if you look at the coal energy, the cost is almost flat, because as I said, this coal technology, coal gasification or coal combustion, thermal and power plants, they have been already attained their saturated, what you call as most optimum conditions have been well established. Whereas for natural gas or gas sources, you can see that cost also decreasing. Okay, so that way, except nuclear, the cost for other technologies have been decreasing, is the trend which we follow. Okay, so we can focus on, we have to focus on reducing the cost of the hydrogen also, because we want to shift from crude based economy to hydrogen based economy, which was discussed in lecture number 1. Okay, so before that, whatever we have discussed yesterday, just like this thing, will you justify hydrogen is, because whenever we talk about fuel cell, it is hydrogen fuel cell, right? So can you tell this statement is true or false? Hydrogen is the only fuel for fuel cell. Is it true or false? So please comment your thing in this Google form. In this in chat, you can, in chat messages, I am sending you the link for Google form. It will be considered as attendance also. All of you please click that form and again fill your name and answer either true or false. Simple. Okay, either true or false. What do you think? Whenever we talk about fuel cells, is it hydrogen fuel cell means is it hydrogen is the only fuel, or in general anything else can be used as fuel? So what is your understanding at this level? Please fill that form. Whatever is our answer, it's okay. We will be discussing that. We will justify our answer also later. Yeah, Dharmik, very good for filling. Dipanshu, very good for filling. Rohit, Devansh, Pranay, Hariharan, Ritvija, Sneha Priya. Okay, I think 16 are attending. 2 more has to fill. Okay, let us justify the statement, whether it is true or false. We will discuss that. Okay, is hydrogen the only fuel for fuel cell? Ideal fuel cells, we have different type of fuel cells are there. Okay, so that we are going to discuss in detail. So the answer to that question, you will come to know what is the answer. If what is the possible fuel for a fuel cell? Okay, anything that contains hydrogen, any hydrocarbon, it can be alkane, alkene, or alkyne, can be used as the fuel for fuel cell. Okay, so if you consider simple ones like methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, hexane, heptane, octane, and higher ones, higher molecular weight things. Okay, so that can be used as the fuel for fuel cells. Similarly, so this should be the takeaway point for this today's lecture at least. Okay, so it's not that only hydrogen which is can be used as a fuel. You can use whatever is containing hydrogen, can be whatever hydrocarbon which contains hydrocarbon means we know it contains hydrogen, right? So that also can be used as a hydrogen, but there will be some additional unit which will be first producing hydrogen, then that hydrogen will be sent into the fuel cell. Okay, so that way in a unit of fuel cell system, these also can be used as the fuel. So it not just alkanes, it can be alkene or it can be alkyne. Okay, even ammonia, hydrazine, as I said, inorganics like ammonia, hydrazines also can be used as a fuel because they contain you know the reaction, right? N plus NH3, how N2H2 combines to form NH3. In reverse we can form ammonia, right? So that in reverse we can form hydrogen and nitrogen, right? So that hydrogen can be utilized and nitrogen will be released. So that way also we should have a unit, right? It's like a chemical reactor, or it can we can call a steam reforming unit. Okay, so that can be used when we are using this kind of hydrocarbons as the fuel. So obviously the point that we have been talking about in a fuel cell is when you use pure hydrogen and oxygen, the only byproducts are water, heat, and electricity, right? Whereas when we try to use these kind of hydrocarbons as fuel, that one thing that so byproducts are not there will nullified, because wherever C is there, obviously when you sending in air as the oxidant, oxygen is sent, obviously there will be CO2, CO formation will be there. The extent may be varying depending upon the operating conditions, right? So that way, this kind of whenever the moment we move away from using hydrogen as the fuel, into any hydrocarbon as the fuel or ammonia as the fuel or hydrazine as the fuel, what happens is they are going to produce certain amount of CO2, certain amount of CO or any other byproduct. When you involve nitrogen, hydrazine, when N is coming into picture, ammonia and hydrogen when you use, obviously the byproducts is one of them, it's going to be NOx products also, because one side we are sending in hydrogen or this kind of hydrocarbons or ammonia or hydrazine as the fuel. In other sides, to supply oxygen, we will be supplying either pure high purity oxygen or we will be sending in air, right? So the moment this N react, N is and N and O are present together, NOx products also come into picture. The moment in case of we can use natural gas. Okay, so when you use natural gas, if some certain trace amount of sulfur is present in the natural gas composition, what will happen? That S plus oxygen, so SOx products also will come into picture. So we are because the cost of pure hydrogen is very high, and we are having this kind of hydrocarbon as a byproduct of coming out of certain industries. In that case, this kind of fuel cells can be used, where we can add a steam reforming unit or some other extra reactor in front of the fuel cell. It is like incorporated into one of the component of a fuel cell. Okay, so in those cases we can make use of these kind of things as the fuel. Okay, so that is what we should know as one of the learning point of this thing. So as I said, generally if it is a best fuel cell, obviously hydrogen will be used. Okay, but if you, in the moment we talk about fuel cell power generation, instead of, another thing is there is a problem, people afraid to keep hydrogen with them. They don't want to keep hydrogen in the car, okay, because it is going to occupy more volume. Okay, so in that case hydrogen can be stored in some other same more stable form. As I say, it can be ammonia can be stored, right? For stationary application it is a liquid, right? So hydrazine can be there, so they can be having more safety, because in industry they have been used daily. We know what is the safety protocol are very well established, people have some faith on it. So in that case, instead of simply using hydrogen as the fuel, we can use some other fuel which we have seen in the previous slide. As I said, there will be a fuel restator which will be converting that particular fuel, whatever we have seen here, into hydrogen first, then oxygen will be entering, then there is a fuel cell stack where this hydrogen and oxygen will be coming out, where we need a DC to AC converter is required. And since this, whenever we talk about other than hydrogen oxygen, lot of heat is being generated, so that heat recovery unit also comes into picture. When you do power generation, this is particularly for stationary applications. Okay, when we talk about the stationary applications, it is easy to store a big storage vessel. Ammonia can be stored, hydrogen can be stored, this hydrocarbon can be stored, right? So that way, when space is not a constraint, for stationary applications like building, powering the education institutes or hospitals or defense offices, where we need 24/7 power supply, emergency wards kind of places, we can say just replace diesel generator where and all it can be used. There and all you can replace those diesel generator with this kind of fuel cells. Okay, so there in diesel generator, lot of emission is there, sound is there, pollution is there, so that can be reduced when you use hydrogen as the fuel. If not, you can use a less pollutable thing in this case. Okay, so that way, when you are using a fuel cell power generation unit, there is a possibility of getting around 85 to 90% of energy efficiency. We talk only here about energy efficiency, whereas thermodynamic efficiency we are going to define it later in when it going into basics of fuel cells. Okay, at the outset we can say that fuel cell based power generations is done, it can be performed with an overall efficiency of 85 to 90% efficiency. Okay, and now coming into this today's discussion point, what is the need for, why should we use fuel cell, right? Before learning a course, we should know why, what is the motivation behind learning the topic, right? So what is the need for a clean energy? Why should we change? First of all, what is the problem with the existing thing? Okay, so that, because for that we should know what is the current system of energy production, what are the threat and disadvantages associated with it, And what is the problem? And consumption is a problematic for for a few key reasons. What are those key reasons? We can see here, it is listed. We are going to see each point in detail for this lecture. Okay, so climate change, air pollution, energy independence, energy demand, jobs and employment. With all these viewpoint, we will look into why should we move towards investing. A government should invest in alternative energy technologies, including fuel cell. It's applicable to any alternative energy technologies, moving away from crude oil based power generations. Okay, because we can see that there is a change in climate is taking place, right? So we had a greener places now. When we cut the trees in the name of development, when the always whenever we talk about development, there is a cost associated with it. Mainly it is with our own health and our own environment ecosystem is being affected in the name of infrastructure development. The moment, even in a village, when you want to lay a road, what we do first thing is cut the trees on the both sides of the tree, expand the road, right? So the moment we start talking about development, there is a cost associated with it. Okay, so in that perspective, we have to see. It's not that when we discuss negative things, there is nothing positive in it. Okay, there is always some for smaller profit, or we can say for a human profit, our own profit, like our own comfort. What harm we are doing to the environment, how it is affecting the other living beings, right? So that's what is being discussed now. And all of us know that since school days that what is a greenhouse gas, and they act like, actually these greenhouse gases acts like a blanket. What happens when the sunlight that is entering into the earth's surface, they get some of them is reflected back into the space. Some solar radiation is trapped in the earth atmosphere. Okay, so that way we are feeling the heat during daytime. When it is night time, we feel less. Okay, so the moment solar radiation is entering the atmosphere, some of them are staying back, some of them are reflected back into the space. The moment this greenhouse gas blanket is, see, that way this greenhouse gas is doing some help to us as long up to a particular limit, right? That is only helping us to remain warm, right? By holding the sunlight solar radiation, it is helping us to stay warm for a certain limit. But we cannot also be alive when the temperature is very high also, no? So that's why we are having a issue. Okay, so it's doing, actually greenhouse gases is currently acting as a blanket and helping us to stay warm. But whereas when these more greenhouse gases coming and this blanket becoming very thick, then the moment the solar radiation is not escaped back into the space, the problem is starting. Okay, so whatever is the climate change, it is one of the most complex issues which is facing us today. Okay, which we are facing today. So it involves various dimensions. Remember, it's not that every person in the world is facing the same problem, because different parts of country, different state, different village have their own leader, they have their own tradition, custom. Okay, so they have their own social status. So based on that, everybody face different levels of problem with respect to this climate change also. That's why we want to talk about that in this lecture. It involves various dimensions with respect to science, with respect to economics, with respect to society, with respect to politics, and our own moral and ethical questions also. Okay, so this climate change is a global problem, but felt by everybody on the local scale in various range. As I told, a person living in US, their government has taken a policy that there is no industry, there can be no textile industry, there can be no pollution causing industry should not be there. So what they do, the foreign companies go to a developing country like Africa or India, they come, they open their branch here, they tell that we are getting a permission, so they pollute our land, they manufacture the textiles or other things, leather kind of products also. So what they do, they again export it back to their own country. So the pollution problem, water problem is being nullified in their country. Okay, but our country, we are allowing them thinking, oh, he is giving job for my 500 people, let him run his industry. But what damage he is causing is polluting our land, and he is sucking the water from the borewell, right? So using all the water, and he produces textiles or whatever product it is, they sell it to their own country, they're taking it back. and what is only thing left? We think that 500 people are getting job, let that company run. But on the other flip side, what is happening is this thing is, that's what we are talking about: politics, society, also economics, because it is economic decision. A government allowing it, thinking that it is an economic decision because it is helping people get job, right? But whereas we are polluting the environment, so that thing also happening. Okay, so that way, if you look at this carbon dioxide, it is a heat trapping greenhouse gas that has driven the recent global warming, which lingers into the atmosphere for hundreds of years, and the planet takes a while to respond to warming. Okay, so that means even though it is being continuously emitted, so our planet is slowly responding to the global warming. That means people, we are the people who are living, we are trying to respond it very slowly. Okay, because we have off late only we have started after 1990s, or after industrial revolution only we could able to realize the impact of the CO2. Okay, even there is one school of thought, because even in science now people always say, oh, somebody is for and there is against also, right? So people say CO2 is responsible, there are certain people say that it's not CO2 which is responsible for global warming. That's good. Two school of thought is there. Those who want to believe in science, they believe. Those who want to believe their leaders, they believe their leaders. Okay, so that way it is going to happen, right? So whether global warming is a true or false. Okay. So the point that we are trying to speak here is, we are emitting, so many industries are being operated, right? We stop emitting all the greenhouse gases today, but still the global warming and climate change will continue to affect our future generation, our grandchildren, our children are going to be affected. Even we are visibly seeing it in what is happening in our Delhi. Okay, what is happening in our most of the cities in India. We are seeing how the people struggle to breathe sometimes when they are on road. Inside their home they are safe, right? Staying in a AC room, they are safe, but the moment they step out of their house, what is the index, air pollution index, all that, how they are affected, we are going to discuss that also. Okay, so that way, as a human being, even though we are not being directly affected with this global warming, in view of our grandchildren or children, we should able to have some commitment towards reducing the CO2 emission, because we are talking, we are not even reducing 10%, 20%, but we are talking that even when we completely stop also, anyhow our generations are going to get affected with this. Okay, so that is the level of this problem that we are discussing here. Okay, so that means UN secretary is there, so working group is there, which is working, UN means United Nations. So they all agglomeration of all the countries, we have particular thing which is taking care of this global warming. So what they have, working group committee is there. So they have given a lot of code red for humanity. It's a, even as a humanity, we have to, we are in a danger that we have to listen to the problem, and we have to work towards reducing the CO2 emissions. Okay, so that way this UN secretary, if you look at this person Guterres, he said that the working group has given a report that is nothing less than a code red for humanity. It's very alarming. Okay, you cannot ignore their evidence. That's what the politician can speak anything to get votes, but the fact is there is global warming. Yeah, that is what the evidence is showing. Okay, so that's what they want to show. They made a document of various research articles, or what is happening, what is the impact, all that have been documented. So you even noted that we have internationally, all the countries have agreed the threshold of 1.5 degree above pre-industrial levels of global heating. Okay, so we are at imminent risk of hitting this 1.5 degree in the near term. Soon we are going to reach that 1.5 degree increase in the global temperature. Okay, so how to prevent it? The only way to prevent this exceeding this threshold is, we have to put a step in all the governments across. They have a working committee. No, working committee cannot simply say something, because there is always a politician who says global warming nothing, kuch nahi hai, they say. Okay, so that way what scientists have to say, as a scientific person, or with the temperament, we have to look into what scientists have to say for this thing. Okay, so IPCC is the world panel. Okay, just look into this. So look at the number of scientific publications considered. So this report was prepared by IPCC. What they are trying to show is so they have actually released a report which is having a large number of pages, just as a trailer for that report, which is made a scientific report, which is released by them. So we have this video. You can see that the most important thing, what is being seen is the future changes to our climate and how they affect us will depend upon the choices that we are making today. That we refers to the government. Okay, it is the government's responsibility to make its people follow something, right? Okay, that way, whatever is the decision that is taken by a government across the globe, that is going to the way we are going to see the future changes in the climate. Okay, so because our climate is our future. Okay, so coming back to this report, this is a trailer which is shown so that we'll understand the impact of that. So I will just look at the final summary page of this report. It is several pages. So if you are interested in knowing about all these things, what they have to say, you can look into this thing. Because policy maker refers to government. Okay, so this working group is a part of our UN, okay, United Nations. So that IPCC refers to Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So they dedicatedly they made a panel consisting of several working groups like stakeholders, either it is government, scientists, okay, all the people, industrials also. So what they are finally summarizing is the climate change is widespread across the globe. You can see the effect, either it is in glacier or in desert. It is being very rapidly changing and very intensifying also. Okay, and this revised report in 2018 there was a report. After that there is a revised report which is released this some 2-3 months back in August. Okay, so the new report also reflects the major advances in the science of attribution, that is like understanding the role of climate change in the climate change in intensifying the specific weather and climate events such as extreme heat waves or even heavy rainfalls. We can easily see that, right? Even most of the metro cities or cities, we can see there is a more amount of rainfall, unprecedented rainfalls are there, or unpredicted rainfalls happen in cities, and cities are getting clogged 3-4 days. Even if you look at Chennai last month, or even 2 days back on eve of New Year also, there is within one day there is a more amount of more say 10 20 rain is taking place within one day. Usually if it is 5 6 per day, it will drain out easily, but the moment it is crossing 10 15 20 per day, so those cities, what, because we have occupied all those things. So what happens is there is no path for water to flow out into the sea. So that way we face a lot of issues, right? That is imminent. We are able to visible, we are able to see that. Okay. So what they are telling is the evidence is clear that CO2 is the main driver of the climate change. Even as other greenhouse gases and air pollutants also affect the climate change. Okay. So we have seen that the refrigerator, whatever is there, that also causes greenhouse gases. Okay. So main responsibility is from CO2. So that's why it is important that we work towards reducing the CO2 content. And what this UAP IPCC report says is finally stabilizing the climate will require a strong, rapid, and sustained reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions. And we have to reach our target or ambition of getting into net zero CO2 emissions. What is the meaning of net zero CO2 emission? Is obvious that when we are doing something, CO2 will be coming out. So what we have to do is other way of trapping that CO2 or converting CO2 into some other useful hydrocarbons or some other form we should convert. Okay. So that way, overall, there is zero CO2 emission into the atmosphere. So that is our target. That for that we have to think a lot, right? Scientifically, we need a lot of things, commitment from people, from the government, right? The moment government says that subsidy rate for there is no tax, there is no need of number plate, there is no need of these things for electric vehicles, kind of announcements are made, or there is a separate lane for electric vehicle purchasers, the people get influenced to buy that electric vehicle rather than IC engine vehicle, right? So that is a small step towards reducing the CO2 emission into the atmosphere. Okay, so that way government's policies, government subsidies are very important in establishing, number one, the infrastructure. Even though hydrogen vehicles are there, can we buy it in Hyderabad? Can we buy it in Warangal? Or can we buy it in your own locality? Can you recharge your hydrogen vehicle? Go to a place and recharge. There is a hydrogen purchase. Can you purchase and fill your hydrogen in the cylinder in your vehicle? So that facility have been developed or not? If you look at CNG vehicles, in Delhi, there is a good infrastructure have been developed. You can see most of the taxi autos are running on CNG gas, right? Because government has spent money, government has subsidized the amount. Then they made all the infrastructure ready for the consumers or the common people or the population to accept it. Okay, so then only people buy such thing and we will contribute. So that way, it is very important that all stakeholders as a common public, as a government, as a scientific scientists also have a role to play, right? Somebody cannot buy an electric vehicle for a very high price, which is more costlier than IC engine, right? Currently, its cost is 80,000. IC engine vehicle is 50,000. Why I will buy a more costly vehicle just to, which is not my primary concern, environment concern is not my thing, right? So my economy also will influence me in making a choice. So that way, when government gives a subsidy, when it says that both are same rate, but when you buy this EV vehicle, that is electric vehicle, hydrogen cell, fuel cell vehicle, or even battery vehicles, the cost is equal and you are contributing less pollution to the environment. In that case, I will consider buying a electric vehicle, right? So that is the reason government gives a lot of support. Government is responsibility to give more support to all these kind of alternative energy productions or even these kind of automobiles, all these things. Government gives a lot of subsidy, encourages all the graduates to start their own entrepreneurship and start where you can produce all these electric vehicle kind of thing. Okay. So that is only way is going to help us in going towards this net zero CO2 emissions. Okay. So limiting other greenhouse gases and air pollutants, especially the methane, also could have benefits for both our own health as well as the climate. Okay. So remember this IPCC report is not just like the opinion of one person. So this is a summary of what they have done. Okay. This report is prepared by around 234 well-known scientists from IITs, NITs in India, as well as from different 66 country of very good institute, top 500 institutes kind of thing. Okay. So what they highlight is human influence, that is the interference of human into the nature only has led to this warming of the climate, which is at a rate which is unprecedented in the at least last 2000 years. In last 2000 years, there is no such increase, but in last 100, 200 years, we are seeing so much increase in CO2 concentration getting into the atmosphere. Okay, even in 2019, the atmospheric CO2 concentrations were higher than any time in at least 2 million years. That's what people, scientists have reported. So in the past 2 million years, this much CO2 has not entered into the atmosphere. At the moment, this human has interfered into this atmosphere with these all industrial revolutions. We are contributing more pollution, more CO2 into the atmosphere. Even not only CO2, if you look at the concentration of the methane and nitrous oxide, they were also very high in last 800,000 years ago. You can see, compare, not even just 100 years history, even in last 800,000 years, the concentration of methane and nitrous oxide is having very high. Okay. And what people have known about this global surface temperature, which is increasing very fastest in 1970s than in any other 50-year period. Okay, it's like if you consider every 50 over period time, in the last 2000 years, since 1970, we are seeing this kind of increase. Okay, for example, the temperature during this most recent decade, which we can say like last 20 years, it exceeds the most recent multi-century warm period, which is around 6,500 years ago, according to the report generated by this IPCC. So it is like IPCC, remember, it is a inter-government panel from across several countries, made up by the several scientists and the stakeholders. Okay, so this document shows that the emission of greenhouse gases from human activities are responsible for approximately 1 degree increase in warming between the last 150 years. Okay, so you can say 1850 means now it is 2020, right? So around 170 years, we can see at least 1 degree Celsius is the increase in the average temperature. Don't think just 1 degree. At 1 degree itself, we are not unable to cope up with what is the natural calamities that is taking place. Either it is melting of ice glaciers, or either heavy rainfall, or the extreme temperatures in the summer, right? So that's what people are telling. It is going to, next to 20 years, we are going to have an average increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is imminent, which means which is going to take place. But whether can we do something to stop that reaching that 1.5 and stop reducing to 1.5? Whatever I have shown is the recent report. So I used to teach this slide. So that is the thing. They want to contain this 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. Okay, because it is for that we have to reach net zero emission of CO2, which should reach by 2050. If you are able to attain that target of not only just reducing the CO2 into the atmosphere, we have to nullify it. In then only we are able to going to get this thing. Okay. So by any time between 2030 to 2052, the global warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius is going to occur. So for that only every government is working. Why the government should work? You are asking a question. Why government should work? Okay. So how it is affecting our health? We can see that. So whether they are affecting our health directly, yes, obviously. We have seen that extreme weather, we have seen that extreme heat in summer, or extreme cold in winter. People are not able proper shelter, because a lot of population is with underprivileged people are there, right? We can see that due to winter itself, people are dying. So that's why some of the governments act proactively, that they keep open the railway stations or buses, unused buses or unused vehicles, into a temporary shelter for night time, so that the people can stay inside that, so that on road they don't die, right? So that kind of political decisions, like which to safeguard the people also needed, because we should work for government is not just for well privileged people like us, right? So it is for even the underprivileged people, under lower middle class, upper middle class also. It's not only for class people, high class people. Okay. So if you look at that one, it is obviously affecting the health directly, because a lot of people are going to hospital with asthma problem when they are living in a city more than rural people, right? So that way this climate change is directly affecting the health. And what about spreading of diseases? Yes, obviously there is a flood, there is a lot of cholera, a lot of contaminated water is there, a lot of foods are getting contaminated. When there is a different temperatures also, the several diseases are being spread by the insects, ticks and rodents, right? So that is also spreading of disease is also more when there is a change in climate. And what about the destroying and disrupting the food supplies? Obviously, when there is so much of there is no more rainfall for the season, the deer production is lost. The deer lost for farmers. Farmers come to road to the government and ask for, please, whatever loan we have taken, we are not able to pay back because past 3 years the rainfall has fooled us. So obviously government has to listen to them. Remember, government is writing of the loans taken by the various corporates, companies. Even though they have a lot of profit, they don't pay the tax wantedly, but still government takes a decision. Okay, he's giving a job for 500 people, 1000 people are working, let me write off his loan, like that. Same way this farmer also demanding, and the demand is rightful, because it's not, rainfall is not in their hands. They put all the money, all the thing, effort in growing the all the crops, but unfortunately it is maybe due to heavy rainfall it gets damaged, or when there is no rainfall also, they have problem. So that is causing food chain supply, right? That food supply is being hindered, and it is leading to lot of hunger. And obviously you can see the rank of India in malnutrition of our kids, children malnutrition, and what is the death rate of the kids because of this malnutrition. We are ranking very poor in it. Okay, so that way this climate change is also affecting, and our people are getting kids, or a lot of death is also taking place due to malnutrition. Okay, and also when you listen to all these stories in news and all this, now when you go through your FB or WhatsApp status kind of thing, what we come to know, when we come to know other people are suffering, even though I am not suffering, I feel stress, right? Oh, what I suffering also having problem, those who don't have suffer also undergo some stress, right? When we are concerned, we are have some humanity left within us, we will feel for them. Oh, this kid has died because of not food available for 3 days. So what is the use, I have this much money or this much food, right? So that thing will come to your mind, right? Even though we are not directly related, or we cannot directly go there and help them, right? So that thing will come to our mind. So even those who are suffering directly because of the above reasons also, how it is affecting their well-being, they are not able to live their natural life. Okay, and this kind of climate change, together with the natural and human-made health distresses, which is going to influence our human health and decision in numerous ways. Okay, remember, some of the existing health threats will intensify, and there is going to be several new threats which is going to emerge also, health threats. Okay, so remember, not everyone is equally at the risk, which I am reiterating. The important consideration include, remember, for the same environmental condition, aged people are there, kids are there, and senior citizens are there, right? So it's not going to affect some particular age group. For example, we are not given vaccine to our kids. Easily we kept them at indoors, right? We didn't send them to school. We are not given them vaccine even under this pandemic. And now we have opened all the schools, and kids are going to school without vaccine, and we are not coming to college with vaccine also. We have taken double doses, still we are not coming to college, right? So remember, that's why not everyone is equally at rest. This we have to consider several things: age, economic resources, which location they are living, which country I am living also matters, right? I am born in US, it's a I am born in India, I am born in Sri Lanka, or I am born in Japan. So what is the different technology level, their growth or their economics is different, right? So we are going to illustrate something with respect to the impact, rising temperature or extreme weather, the effect on exposures or subsequent health outcomes will be illustrated in this small video. Please go through it. So you can see the impact with respect to air pollution, change in the vector ecology, increasing allergies and water quality impacts, water and food supply, environmental degradation, extreme heat, and severe weather. Okay, so there is, you can say, what is the thing to air pollution? What is the impact? It is a problem. What is the impact on human health? Asthma, cardiovascular diseases they are getting, right? When you say changes in the vector ecology, we get lot of spreading diseases, okay, easily infectious ones, right? Malaria, dengue kind of fevers are coming. When that plant dies, the aquatic lives which is the living there also will, due to insufficient oxygen, they will also die, right? So that kind of thing is there taking place, impact is there. Okay, and we have seen this what happens with respect to food supplies, all that. And also there is environmental degradation is taking place when there is mental health impact, when there is civil conflict, there is forced migration, all that will be taking place. Okay, forced migration is like people because of different state, if you move out of that place, here there is no rainfall for past 3 year 4 year, people shift from that location, move towards Mumbai, move towards Kolkata, within our country. So you can see every restaurant you will visit, you will come to know who is the labor class there. Okay, so all of us have been witnessing it, no need to name it. Okay, and due to this extreme heat also, we are even some people get stroke and some people get cardiovascular failures, all that, right? So such impact is there of this climate change in the climate. So for which this IPCC is insisting on working towards this thing. Okay, so this climate change we have been discussing more, how to mitigate it. So that's what this in that report. Okay, so if you look at the report from 2014, what they are telling is we have to significantly avoid the human interference. That is, stabilize the greenhouse gas levels in a time frame sufficient to allow the ecosystem to adapt naturally to the climate change. What the problem is, nature has solution for its own problems. Okay, nature will take care of itself. But the problem is we are not giving the nature to respond to whatever what we are doing. We are doing it at an accelerated pace. The nature is not able to cope up to the level with which the human is releasing the CO2. Okay, so that's why these kind of calamities are taking place. Okay, so earth climate, if you look at now in the past 12,000 years, the stability has been crucial for the development of our modern civilization. When there is no stability, there will be issue associated with this. So that's why as our climate is changing, we will have to learn to adapt to it. The faster the climate changes, then it will be very difficult for us to adapt to it. Okay, and that we have discussed first part. Second part is with respect to air pollution. Obviously with I have been reiterating that with the invention of new transport vehicles or even industries coming into picture, there has been pollution is increasing because NOx SOx products are getting into the environment along with these ozone particles, all that. Okay, so they also will affect our human health. Okay, so if you look at most polluted cities, we will be happy to see our Indian flag, but not with the data which is associated with that flag. Okay, very sorry state of affair. We can see this is the latest report of 2021, which has been released in 2021. So you can see the top 15. You can see many Indian flags are there. You can read out the names. One of you unmute and speak. Yeah, one of you please read out the names. Please. You can see in, not only just in 1 year it has happened. If you look at the past 4 year data, you can see the major cities, which is you can see the average level of this pollution in these cities. Okay, you can see most of the cities are like number 2 itself, number 2 to 14. You can see Indian flag and you can see the names Ghaziabad. Okay, we have Noida, Greater Noida. We have Lucknow, Delhi, Faridabad, Meerut, Jind, Hisar, and there is two within top 15. There are only 2 cities from China. So that means 13 out of 15 most polluted cities are from India across the world. Remember, it's not just India China comparison, across the globe. Okay, we are competing more with China in this regard. And remember, even not just in first 15, if you look at the 16 to 41 also, you can see the most polluted cities. We can see several names like Agra, Muzaffarnagar. You can see the Agra problem because many visitors who are reaching Agra, they are not able to see the Agra, means Taj Mahal clearly. That's why the government even reduced the lot of laws have been strict, laws have been implemented, right? Muzaffarnagar, we have Bandwari, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Look, Rohtak, Yamuna Nagar, okay, Singrauli, Patna, so Jodhpur is there, Vapi is there, Kaima is there, Guwahati is there, right? So that way in top 40, we can rarely see 4 or 5 or 6 from other countries. That also our neighboring country, Bangladesh 2, 3, Pakistan 2, 3, and China top in first 15 we have 2, right? That is the status of air pollution we are facing in right now. Okay, I hope we are alive. Yeah, so this is the case, air pollution. Okay, and energy independence we want to talk about. Energy independence, as I told you, we want to depend upon the oil producing India. That's why we use a word called geopolitical thing. Geopolitical refers to based on our location and whether the availability of crude oil is there or not, what is the population, what is the market. Based on that only every country make decisions. Okay, so the country makes a policy decision, they will be good with India, not because they respect India. They want their market. Our population is the second most population. So something is produced in US, when they sell it in Indian market, there is lot of takers. Okay, so that way only people react. Countries make the decisions. All the policies are made to match their business. They look at India as a consumer, biggest consumer next to China, because China themselves produce everything. Japan also look at us. What our electronic things which I produce, yeah, in India I can sell it more, right? So that way that the policies taken by all the neighboring countries or the developed countries are based on our geopolitical thing also. Okay, so there is another problem is with respect to energy demand. With the increase in population, which all of us know, which I have discussed in lecture 1 also, with increase in population and with increase in gazettes, we have increase in the energy requirement. You can see the requirement is being increasing. More than 40% of growth in 2070 was driven by the China and India, and 72% of the rise was made by the fossil fuels, a quarter by renewables, and the remainder by the nuclear. This we have already discussed. Okay, so if you look at the electricity generation is increased by 3% worldwide in 2017, as the electricity demand rose faster than the overall global energy demand growth. Okay, so if you look at this electricity generation in 2017, you can see 38% is from coal, you have gas 23%, and you have nuclear 10%, and good sign in the green is there is 25% increase, 25% contribution from the electricity generation from renewable sources, which includes various things, including fuel cells, solar cells, wind, okay, other alternatives. And another reason why we have to go for, we have been discussing about what are the parameters for why should we go towards clean energy, right? Last aspect of this moving towards or investing towards these clean energies, new innovations are coming into picture. So a lot of research is being carried out. A lot of people do MTech project or BTech project in towards this alternative energy, biodiesel production, right? Fuel cells, they work in solar energy, so work in solar panels, all that. We'll be stopping in few minutes. Okay, so these future energy systems have to be cleaner and they have to be more efficient and more reliable. So obviously, it will give chance for see, remember, first thing before opening a market is to prepare people. To prepare people, we have to do R&D. A person, human resource has to be developed, right? So that way, with respect to higher studies, with respect to research work, with respect to new startups, then market, it will be once a factory comes into picture, obviously there will be job market opening for the people, right? So that is one of the things. So that way, this hydrogen and fuel cell systems will be helping us to meet the challenges ahead. Okay, so we will discuss about hydrogen as energy carrier in the next lecture. Thank you so much for joining my classroom. If you have any discussion, we can stay, others can leave. Darnik is there? Krishna, Rohit,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Today did you join? Today is your first class?
Yes.